What's going on, guys? Your boy Maze, and we're back with another video. And in today's video, guys, me doing the updated PVE tier list for 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross as of February 2024. In this video, we're going to be going over all these characters that have released in the game as of this month, and we're going to be showing them off on the tier list here. So we have, these are the new characters that came out all in January, or, you know, beginning of February, and we're going to be placing them on the tier list, guys. We got a bunch of characters this time around. You know, I think last time we only had 2 units, being just Roxy and Meliodas. Now we actually have, what is that, 6 characters to rank, so definitely going to be a longer one than normal. If you guys enjoy videos like this, man, definitely make sure to like and subscribe. I definitely do appreciate all the support on the channel, guys. And with that out of the way, man, let's actually talk about the first character, being the brand new green Chad King. Alright, guys, so this is the Fairy King Harlequin, or Chad King. This is the green variant that did release at, I think it was like the midway in of January. So let's actually go over what this character is able to do and talk about his kit. You know, so first things first is his passive right here, guys. Fairy King's Protection creates a barrier around allies equal to 300% of the hero's attack for 3 turns at the start of the battle. For each applicable ally participating in the battle, increases those allies' damage dealt by 10%. And if a barrier is created by the hero is removed from an ally, that ally's attack related stats will be increased by 20% for 2 turns. And the applicable allies are going to be the 7 Deadly Sins characteristic, or the Fairy race. Now, for his actual Holy Relic here, guys, this is going to affect his shield that he actually does get from his passive, or the barrier. So increases the hero's damage dealt by 15%. That increases the basic stats of allies protected by the hero's barrier by 15%. So that's actually going to affect this barrier for this king as well, just like it does the blue Chad King. And then for his skills here, guys, his first skill here is going to be Prayer of Peace. It's going to be a single target gauge reduction, 250 on the rank 2 with 2 gauge, with that kind of variant. You know, I think Terry has this as well from the KOF collab. But yeah, I mean, it's the 250 and 2 gauge on the rank 2 variant. And then for his second skill here, he's going to have Pierce AoE, which is going to be triple the Pierce rate increase when actually using the skill. So 100 to 150 right there, and then 250 as well, guys. And then moving on to his ultimate here. So this is at 2 out of 6. So obviously those will vary for you guys if you're looking at his ult. But for 2 out of 6, remove debuffs from allies and buffs from enemies. And for each buff removed, increase the damage taken by enemies whose buffs were removed by 3% for 1 turn, and then inflict damage equal to 440% of attack on all enemies. And this is at the 2 out of 6 of dupe level. Alright, guys, so that's pretty much the kit of Fairy King Harlequin. Now, where are we going to rank him on the actual tier list? Now, remember, this is PVE, guys, so depending on where we could rank this character, I'm honestly not too sure where he's really gonna, you know, kind of finish. I mean, the thing is with King's passive is, and I'll show this again. Let me open up the game again. But the thing is with King's passive is that it is a 20% attack related stats for only 2 turns when the barrier is removed, right? And the barrier only lasts for 3 turns as well. So this has to be content where you're going to be in and out very, very quickly. You're not going to be using King in, you know, demonic beast battles where it's going to be spanning over 10-15 turns sometimes, you know, if it gets to that. So that's a thing where, like, you know, King's not going to be used in the hardest demonic beasts. Maybe he'll be used in the easier ones. I mean, other than that, I don't really see too much viability from this character in terms of all PvE content. But I think the value that he does provide, though, with the damage dealt for Sins, could definitely be pretty good. I think he'll probably fit in kind of the niche section, kind of where we put Queen Elizabeth that one time, right? I think it does make sense, you know, King being able to have the shield up. You know, if you're in the shield, you get the damage dealt, and then the heroes themselves actually do get the damage dealt as well. They gain the basic stats from his Holy Relic. Like, King is still providing a good chunk for PvE, and luckily his passive is not limited, you know, to being only PvP or PvE, right? You can see here it says all content, so this is usable in all content. Same with his Holy Relic as well, and his gauge reduction can definitely be, you know, pretty nice depending on the content. And then the Pierce is obviously a pretty nice skill as well, guys. So I think my ranking for King and where I'm going to put him, I think B tier for the niche use in most content and made for one specific content. I think he does kind of fit that kind of like idea where, you know, I don't think he's necessarily made for something specific, but I think he is pretty niche. If you're going to run him, you know, it's probably going to be on a kind of a niche Sin setup in PvE. Nothing too crazy, though. Alright, guys, so moving on to the next character we got for the tier list, we got LR Gloxinia, guys. So LR Gloxinia is a character that... Alright, guys, so moving on to the next character we're going to be going over in the tier list is going to be LR Gloxinia. So let's actually hop onto the game here and we'll discuss what he's able to actually do. So Gloxinia of Repose, this is the LR variant of Green Gloxinia. So let's actually talk about what he does now after LR. So his first skill here is actually going to have Sever Single Target with the initial bleed that he already had. And it's actually going to scale from 154, 231 to 380 185% of attack, and this is single target. And Cypher is going to be triple the crit chance. His second skill here, guys, is going to be AoE damage just on the rank 1, just straight up damage. It goes up to 132 from 120, I think. And then the scaling is going to be 132 on the rank 2 and then 198 on the rank 3, while being able to disable attack and buff skills now on the rank 2 and the rank 3 for 1 and 2 turns respectively. And then moving on to his passive right here, guys, increases allies defense related stats by 10% for each surviving ally, and increase allies attack related stats by 10% for each ally that has died, bleeding enemies that have their crit chance decreased by 30% and critical damage by 40. So that's going to be his passive right there. And then moving on to his holy relic, guys, which he did actually acquire with his him becoming a LAR, and this can be used with the other Gloxinia, just to bear that in mind. But in PvP, increases the basic stats of fairy allies by 5% for every fairy ally participating in the battle, and increases the fairy allies critical chance by 5% and critical damage by 10 for every debuff applied to the enemies with a limit of 4 times. So this won't be effective in PvE, but the stats of the relic definitely do matter for the character itself. And then moving on to his ultimate right here, guys, for his ultimate, it's going to inflict ruin damage equal to 840% of attack on one enemy, and then decrease all enemies basic stats by 30% for 2 turns. And ruin is going to increase the damage dealt by 30% per debuff on the target, and it's going to remove every single debuff after it drops the ult, but it's going to reapply like the basic stat lower pretty much, so it applies it after the fact. Alright, guys, so that pretty much covers Gloxinia's kit. I don't think his commandment changed or anything like that, so we don't have to talk about his commandment, and it is a PvP exclusive one as well at that. So now that we've kind of talked about Gloxinia and his kit, guys, where would we actually rank him on the tier list now? So I think Gloxinia, in terms of PvE content, you're not really going to see too much use out of him, right? He's more of a PvP kind of character, you know, if they were to make like an actual like viable fairy team in PvP. I think overall though, the defense related can definitely be pretty nice. Thing is, like, what PvE content is going to warrant you needing that much tanking on your team, right? Demonic Beast battle, you usually don't need that much, and so it's more about just kind of dealing damage in Demonic Beast versus just kind of tanking. So Gloxinia, I don't really feel like has too much viability in PvE, honestly. If we included Heroes Arena in the PvE side of the things, then obviously I would rank him a lot higher, but because we don't include Heroes Arena in this, and it's only really the DK fight and then like Demonic Beast pretty much, and also just like general farming, I'm not really going to be having a spot to put Gloxinia that's going to be high. I think at most we can give him maybe the C tier for, you know, the defense related he's providing, right? He does also provide attack related stats, but it's not, you know, good enough because you have to have allies die to gain that, and it's only 10% per ally that dies, so it's not even like a substantial amount of stats that you're getting. So I think Gloxinia does actually fit in the C tier right there, guys. He is niche. You can use him for the tanking if you are lacking that, you know, defense related. On a Demonic Beast battle, you just have 40% defense related, which is pretty good, and then in like, you know, general like 3v3 PvE, you're gonna have 30% defense related, which is also not that bad either. Alright, guys, so now we are on Gamer Shin here, the brand new blue one that came out with the step up banner with LR Gloxinia. Let's actually go over his career and see what he's able to do. So the Guild's Rising Star Gamer Shin, for his passive right here, increases the allies attack related stats by 5% for each human ally participating in the battle, and decrease all enemies defense related stats by 10% for 1 turn at the start of the allies turn. So that's going to be for all content. And then for his Holy Relic here, guys, increases the hero's damage dealt by 50% when attacking debuffed enemies. And then moving on to his single target here, guys, he inflicts charge damage equal to 200% of attack on a single enemy, and this is going to ignore defense straight up. This scales up from 200, 300, and 500% of attack. And then moving on to his second skill right here, guys, it's going to be the Photon Eraser, which is weak point AoE, which is going to be triple damage against debuffed enemies. So you guys can see it goes from 90, 120 to 185% on the AoE right there. And then moving on to his ultimate right here, guys, inflicts shatter damage equal to 420% of attack on all enemies, and shatter is just going to ignore resistance. Alright, guys, so now that we've gone over Gamer Shin and his kit, where are we actually going to rank him on the PvE tier list? Now, I think Gamer Shin actually does have viability in farming, and I think for farming he's actually going to be really good, because bearing in mind he's giving human allies attack related stats, and we know there's some other really good farming characters in the game as well. I need to find where I put Red Brunhild, honestly, because I feel like he probably fits in the same kind of, you know, bracket as where Red Brunhild would be. Yeah, so I think I could actually slot him in the B tier then. I think B tier makes a lot of sense, because you could think, like, literally these 3 characters right here is a team, guys. Like, you have Sigurd, Brunhild, and then Shin, and Shin's able to give the attack related stats to the allies because they're both humans, and so they benefit by that when you're doing, like, you know, general farming in the game. So I think, you know, for farming necessarily, I think the Shin's gonna be really good, and that's kind of the main thing. you know, in PvE you're going to be able to do with him. I don't think there's anything really else you can really do. Demonic Beast, he's not going to be, you know, I mean, I guess the attack related, but it's not really like something you're going to run just for the attack related, because Shin's not strong enough to warrant you running him on like a Demonic Beast, let's say, right, over just like Roxy, LR Escanor, you know, Yori when we get to her. But yeah, no, so like Shin I think is pretty good, but I don't think he's going to be, you know, doing any Demonic Beast faster than any of these characters above here, and I just don't think he's better than any of these characters up here as well. So I think he definitely fits in the same slot as Red Bundled, where he's a farming character, you know, made for one specific content, which I would say is farming in general. I think he's going to be a really good farming character because of that weak point AoE, and just the fact that he's giving the attack related stats up, and also him auto applying the debuff on the enemies as well, guys, because he applies a defense related 10% lower on the enemy. If you guys don't remember, yeah, it's a defense related 10% lower for one turn at the start of the ally's turn, and it reapplies. So he's able to apply that debuff every single time the turn starts. So that is very, very clutch right there, and I think because of that, it actually does make sense that Shin should fit in the B tier right there, guys. Alright guys, so now we actually have the last three characters being the collaboration units. Now I will preface this right now that I haven't really used Data Zahard and Bomb like that, but I have seen what they're capable of doing, and I've been playing with Yori lately in PvP, so I feel like I have a good, you know, idea of where I'd rank these characters. So let's actually hop in, guys, and talk about the characters right here. So first character we're going to go over is going to be Yori Zahard, and then we'll go to Data Zahard and then Bomb. So Yori right here, for her passive, guys, is going to increase the basic stats of human allies by 5% for each human ally participating in the battle if the hero uses a skill, or if a human ally takes damage from a skill during the enemy's turn. That enemy is afflicted with the Rose Shinsu for 4 turns, and if a hero uses a skill on an enemy at the max Rose Shinsu stacks, the enemy is afflicted with the all target skill disable for 1 turn. And the Rose Shinsu debuff, guys, is going to be 10% damage dealt lower on the enemy, stacking up to 3 times. Moving on to Yori's Holy Relic here, guys, increases allies' critical resistance and critical defense by 30%, and this is all content, just like her passive as well, guys. I forgot to mention, but all content across both of them. And then moving on to her skills here, guys, for her single target, she's going to have cancel stance single target, scaling from the 180, 300, and the 500, including the rank 1 it has cancel stance. And then moving on to her AoE skill, she's going to do 140% of attack on her rank 1, 140% of attack and buff removal, and then cancel buffs and stances, and 210% on the rank 3. And then moving on to her ultimate right here, guys, applies 2 Rose Shinsu effects on one enemy for 4 turns, then inflicts cleave damage, which does not activate critical damage, equal to 600% of attack at the 3 out of 6 mark. So obviously this will definitely change for you guys, but the additional damage is going to be equal to 75% of the critical damage minus 100%. Alright guys, so where should we be ranking Yori Zahard on the tier list? So let's actually talk about it. I've been using her lately in PvE. You guys have seen the Skull and Hottie video, you've seen the Nidhogg video. I think that she is a tier character. I don't think that she's gonna be S tier, in that even though she is really good across all PvE content, I don't think she's gonna be better than any of the 3 characters I have up here. But I do think she definitely kind of slots in with the same tier as Roxy and like Ultimate Escanor, where I think that you can use them in pretty much all the Demonic Beast battles, and the fact that Yuri is able to give the basic stats and also the damage dealt lower on the enemy, it actually does help you out a lot. And that fact alone, I mean, already makes it you know, worth to run Yuri in you know, some things in the game if you want to give that a try. And the fact that she is able to beat Nidhogg in the first place with a full human team already makes it like solidified A tier in my books. I think that like this character, because of the fact that she's able to, you know, elevate the one ultimate and Roxy and even LR Escanor, right, like to that level where they can hit super hard, and they're also like really, like they have really good tanking. Yuri is gonna be in the A tier in my opinion, which A tier is universal for most PvE content or is made for Demonic Beast battles, and that's exactly what she's capable of doing. So I think that, you know, putting her in the A tier here, guys, makes a lot of sense, and that's gonna be where I'm placing Yuri Zahard. Alright guys, so moving on to the next character here, we have Data Zahard. So let's actually pull up the game here and talk about his kit and what he's able to do. So I don't actually have his Holy Relic yet, guys, but for his Holy Relic, pretty much what it does is it's going to be a cleanse whenever he does get his effect on his passive. And we'll talk about his passive. So hopping into his passive here, applies a mark of stability on the hero for 1 turn at the start of the battle. And when this effect is removed, the hero gains the Power of Shinsu effect for 1 turn. And when the Power of Shinsu effect is removed, the hero gains King's Decision effect for 5 turns. and in addition, the hero's basic stats increase by 7% for each unknown race ally participating in the battle. Now, market stability is going to be unknown race allies damage taken minus 30. Power of Shinsu is going to be HP does not fall below 1, and you ignore the target's critical resistance and critical defense when using single target attack skills. And then for King's Decision, it's going to increase the critical damage by 1 for every 1% of HP diminished, and increases the critical chance by 100% when all target attacks are used, and it increases the damage dealt by skill rank. Depending on the rank, it's going to be 30, 60, and 120. And so the way his passive actually does affect or is affected by the Holy Relic, guys, is that whenever he's applying the next buff, pretty much, he's going to cleanse all the debuffs on himself. So that's pretty much his Holy Relic, and you know, how it equates to his passive. And then moving on to his skills here, guys, his first skill here is going to be Golden Needle of Mystery Island, which is going to inflict light spear damage equal to 150% of attack on one enemy, and light spear is going to be triple the pierce rate increase, and the hero's attack is going to get 40% increase when using a skill, and it's going to go from 150, 250 to 450. And then moving on to his second skill here, guys, it's going to be inflicting spike damage equal to 100% of attack on all enemies, and spike is going to be double the crit damage increase, scaling from 100 to 150 to 250% of attack. And then moving on to his ultimate here, guys, it's going to be in at 2 out of 6, increases the hero's critical damage by 70% for 2 turns, and it inflicts sever damage equal to 340% of attack on all enemies, and then applies immortality on the hero for 1 turn, and the sever is going to be triple the crit chance increase, whereas immortality is going to give HP does not fall below 1. Alright guys, so let's actually talk about where we're going to place Data Zahard on the tier list. Now, I think that Data Zahard is pretty good, but the problem that I'm having with this character when thinking about where I'm going to place him in PvE is the fact that his turn count is only going to be 7 turns at maximum, guys, for all of his buffs, right? So market stability is the damage reduction. He's only going to have that for the first turn. Power of Shinsu, he's only going to have for 1 turn as well, where he's immune to dying, but it's, remember, these are all blue buffs as well, guys. You know, bear that in mind. And then he's going to get King's Decision for 5 turns, which, you know, is pretty good, but 5 turns is not going to be enough time where you're going to have that last. It's kind of the same situation as, like, you know, the Chad King we kind of talked about earlier in the video, where I don't think Chad King's shield, you know, is long enough to last, like, you know, a really long fight like Nidhogg or, like, you know, Skull and Hottie sometimes when you need to be doing, like, a super long fight. So I don't think that Data's going to be really used in Demonic Beast like that, and even for farming, I don't even think he's going to be really a character that's, like, honestly really used like that. So I do think he can be used though, so I will give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll give him the C tier. I think you definitely can use him on some Demonic Beast battles, and if you're able to clear within those turn counts, like, it can be pretty good. But the main thing I'm seeing as the issue with Data is that he kind of loses all of his passive if he does get buff stripped at all. If he gets buff stripped at all, guys, his passive's gone, right? Like, he instantly loses his passive, right? So that's something that, you know, you kind of have to think about when using Data Zahard. And in PvE, you're not really going to get much use out of him versus, like, Yori, which we kind of already talked about on, like, the human team versus him on unknown. You would just rather not run Data and run other unknown characters anyway. Alrighty guys, now moving on to the final character here on the tier list we need to rank, and that is going to be Bomb or Jouer Viol Grace. And we're going to be ranking where he's actually capable of. Let's talk about his kit. So his passive right here, guys, is going to be the Burden 1. So in PvE, applies the Power of Thorn on the hero for 2 turns at the start of the battle, and when the Power of Thorn is removed, it removes all debuffs from allies and increases the hero's skill ranks. In addition, when Power of Thorn is removed, it increases the allies' basic stats by 20% once. The Power of Thorn is going to be increasing allies' damage dealt by 20%, and then also giving them 20% damage reduction as well. And one thing to note, guys, is that this does not include Demonic Beast Battle or PvP. This is only able to be used in general PvE content. Moving on to his Holy Relic here, guys, increases allies' stat-related buffs by half of their values in PvE, excluding Extort. And this is, again, going to be the exact same thing as his passive, where it excludes Demonic Beast Battle and is not available in PvP. Alright, guys, now moving on to his skills here. His first skill is going to decrease defense-related stats of one enemy by 20% for 2 turns and inflict damage equal to 200% of attack, and this is going to scale up to 30% on the rank 2 and then 250 on the attack, and then 40% and 300% of attack as well. And then moving on to his buff card here, guys, he's going to increase the basic stats of one ally by 20% for 2 turns, and then it's going to be all allies for 20%, and then it's going to be 30% removing debuffs from all allies and granting debuff immunity. So they're pretty much the same as, like, you know, Red Arthur or like Kizuna, if you guys remember those characters. And then moving on to his ultimate here, guys, inflicts sever damage equal to 6. So at 2 out of 6, inflicts sever damage equal to 693% of attack on one enemy, and then applies Power Thorn on the hero for 2 turns, and it's going to be a sever effect of triple the crit chance increase on the actual the ultimate itself. Alright guys, so now where are we going to be ranking Bomb on the tier list? I think he is a really good character, and obviously since he's a PvE character, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt and give him a slot. I'm going to give him probably the B tier as well as with Cocytus, where I think because you can't really use him in other demonic beast battles and it's only for pretty much the DK fight and like maybe OG Demon, I don't think he has much like universal viability in a sense of like in PvE I'm not using him across all demonic beasts and also like final bosses and all that. I think all that Bomb is used for is kind of the same as Cocytus, where it's like, I'm gonna use him on the DK fight and I'm gonna use him on, maybe like a demon deathmatch, right? Like that's the only like time you're really gonna be using these two characters, and I feel like Bomb kind of fits that same like idea as Cocytus, where I think he's gonna be really good on the Demon King deathmatch, but other demonic beast battles he's not gonna be cutting it, guys. He's not a character like LR Liz, where she works in pretty much any PvE content, including demonic beast battles, right? Bomb only works in general PvE and not demonic beast battles. So because of that, actually I'm gonna give him the B tier, but I think if we're talking deathmatch on the Demon King, I think he would be like S tier viable for that fight. Like I think he is really good on that fight specifically, but that doesn't make him like a generally good PvE character, because that doesn't mean he's able to be used on like demonic beast battles and stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of preface that, because I know some people might be wondering like, why are we putting a PvE unit kind of this low on a PvE tier list? And the main reason for that, guys, is because we have characters like LR Liz, where she's doing pretty much as much as Bomb and used in all PvE content. The only thing that Liz kind of is not used in is the Demon King deathmatch, but everything else she's number 1 in, right? So I guess because of that, we could actually argue to lower these two characters on the tier list, guys. But I think right now the Demon King deathmatch isn't like a must run anyway, and it isn't something that you need to be doing to make sure that your account is like to the best of its ability, right? Because it's True Awakening. True Awakening is not that insane right now, so maybe when it does get buffed in the future, I'll value it more as a content in the game. But right now, I'm not going to really value it too high like I am like Nidhogg and like the super difficult demonic beast battles. That's why I have all of these characters ranked super high. So yeah, I mean, it depends. But that's pretty much my ranking there, guys, for the tier list. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below of the updates to the tier list and where you guys would rank all the characters that I ranked in this video. So I hope you guys do enjoy the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe as always. If you guys want to see more videos like this, definitely let me know in the comment section below. And I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Peace out and have a great rest of your day, guys. See you later, man.